sent my own to yesterday. Whenever, I was doing my earlier one, here is one of my suggested edits. And it's pending. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, come on, I swear I turned this down. Why does it do this to me? I'm already doing that. Okay. Okay. So Ezra Barrett. What we were trying to figure out yesterday in the earlier stream that didn't record was who his mom and dad were, which we learned was William Barrett and Ellen Barrett. Now, Ellen we found and have made the suggestion. Morning. I know. Oh my goodness. Ding, ding.
How did you sleep?
Fine.
Why is there a box on top of it?
Because I chose to.
I like that your coffee cup says in the sink.
Mm-hmm. (9:44). 9:44. It's a very unusual time for her to be awake. I think everybody calling her phone woke her up. But of course she was asking me, why are things this way? Why are things that way? This is the normal conversations. Lovely if she actually picked up a job during the day. She's almost 20. She has one job, but it's only 3 to 4 hours and it pays minimum wage. Imagine a 20-year-old getting minimum wage at 3 to 4 hours, maybe 5 times a week. Maybe. I mean, frankly, it's only been 2 or 3. It's not enough to live off of. No way. Especially not in my state. Minimum wage here is still closer to like $10. And even that's pushing it. Sometimes it's like 9. And if you're in training, they have the ability to cut it even further than that. And of course, waitresses don't really get, minimum wage. They get the lower amount and then they take their tips. She's a busser. So it's pretty minimal. I mean, her first paycheck was $30 and she was excited. I let her have her excitement. But, frankly, I worry a lot. She is the second oldest. The oldest is 20 going on 21. I'm actually waiting for his text message. I had to help him order another birth certificate because he had lost it for the billionth time. And so it was sent to my house. And he literally sent me a text yesterday saying, "Hey Jess, do you think you could drop off the birth certificate this weekend?" And it was 5 p.m. on Sunday. And I said, "Honey, it's 5 p.m. on Sunday. Do you mean next weekend?" And then he sent me one back at 10 at night. "I just realized what time and what day it is. Do you think today or tomorrow?" And I was like, tomorrow. So I texted him this morning after his siblings got on the bus and said, "Text me when you're awake." And like her, I don't usually wake up till later. I'm half expecting him to send me a text at like 2 and then suddenly say, "Hey, can you drop this off?" And it's like, are you serious right now? It's 2 o'clock. Because I told him this is my window, between 12 and 2. He's not very good with time. And he's just as helpless with jobs as she is. Part of the reason I have extensive information on therapies is because of them. They're my bonus kids. The oldest one, like I said, is about to be 21. She's about to be 20. And then the youngest one is 17. And their mother was not a very nice lady. And she caused a lot of problems. And, a lot of people would think, dealing with them, that there's some kind of mentally challenged situation going on. Really what it is it's just, it's the consequence of trauma. Whenever somebody goes through trauma, especially as a child, there's this old thing called the hierarchy of needs. A lot of therapists, kind of disregard it these days. But to me and to therapists that I know, it's still very relevant. Who is calling me? I'm not answering that because I don't know that one. Unless they leave me a message, I don't answer because I don't know. Who are you? But whenever there's trauma with a child, in the basics of basics in this hierarchy of needs is food, water, shelter, safety, things like that. If you don't meet those needs, you can't move on to the next step. Well, let me look it up for you. All right. So, okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Probably should have just clicked on pictures, but just so we can go over here. So, there it is. So here's the bottom. We have to meet the bottom before we can move up to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one. So, in the psychological version, you have to meet the air, food, water, shelter, clothing, reproduction, and sleep. I mean, obviously, kids don't need this part, but the rest of it, the reproduction part's more about the adult situation. But for, I think that's kind of why this fell off, is that part. I think it honestly was originally thought of like in a married couple situation, where physical contact is essential to a relationship growth, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so psychological. If they don't have food and they don't have clothing, they don't care about getting a job. See? There's the employment part. They don't care about their health because they want food. They want to be able to breathe. They want to have clothes and they want to have something over their heads so they don't, sleep in the rain. So if they can match those things, why sleep's also important. And I'm going to tell you what, sleep for me is dreadful, and I'll be the first to admit that I don't get that much. I am up until 2, 3, and I pray that I'll be asleep by midnight or 1. But if I have work to do, that is my time. I can't do it when my kids are here or awake because, they need me, so I can't. It's a difficult balance. Sometimes I can do a little bit in between, and, so I won't have to do as much by the end of the night. But I went to bed at 3 a.m., and my kids woke me up at 6. So there's a 3-hour time frame. That's why I look the way I do. I blame that. I look like I need Botox. Sometimes I'm wondering, it's like, ugh, my face is all red. There's puffiness. It sucks. So anyway, you meet these things first, and then you move on to safety. So if you don't feel safe, you don't do the friendship, love, intimacy, family, community. You don't want to go out because you don't feel safe. And safety is, especially for adults, employment. I mean, when you don't have a job and you don't have income or resources or, property, meaning, like things like, like my PlayStation. My PlayStation's a thing for me, okay? Or my coffee. I need my coffee. And, my therapist, I need her. I don't need her as often as I used to, but I still see her. And, once those things are met, then you can move on to the love and belonging, the friendship, the intimacy, the family, community. You want to go out. The self-esteem comes into play after that. Respect, status, freedom, recognition of yourself, and then self-actuation, where you're trying to, go, I'm worth something. If you cannot get to these other things, you cannot get to this part. That's the huge problem. This is also why addiction happens. It's, you can't meet these, then you can't meet those. So we need to fix these to fix those, okay? And so when a child is subjected to trauma, like they were, usually around the same age that it started, so for them, to their best recollection, it was around 6 or 7 years old, probably before that, to be honest. But of course, their recollection of prior to those are spotty, as anybody's would be. I mean, do you remember when you were 4 years old? I might remember some things, but then I'm questioning whether I do or I don't. And so, that's what it is. So for them, they're adults, age-wise, but up here, no, that's not. No. So what actually happens for them is once they hit that age where the trauma begins, they stay that age. And it looks like, from another person's perspective, that they're mentally challenged. But really what it was at the time they didn't feel safe. They didn't care to learn or, improve themselves, because who cares about math problems when you don't know if you're going to get beat up when you go home. I mean, you got to think of it that way. I mean, does passing your spelling test matter if you don't have food at home? No, it doesn't. You're worried about the food, not the spelling test. So you're going to focus on how do you get food before you're trying to learn how to spell couch or learn how a clock works. It took a long time, and I mean, I honestly didn't get them until they were about 12 for two of them, and then the last one literally came running to my house when he was 18. And he had ended up in the juvie system himself, and he had told me, and this is really sad, but when he ended up in the juvie system and he had to go to a juvenile detention center, he said it was the first time he actually felt wanted. He did not live with us here. Obviously, like I said, he didn't come running until he was 18. It's difficult. It's a big story. This is why I have that YouTube channel, because this should be about talking about something else, and why I'm trying to figure out how to integrate the two, because I do the YouTube channel mainly for myself and my children, to get out what had happened to us in chronological order and to record things as they came, so that way, you know, they have it for later. And they don't have to guess about how I was feeling or what I was doing or what my story was, because it's right there. And then the other thing I had it out there for was so that, you know, that other people didn't feel so alone with the situations that they were in. Because honestly, that was my biggest thing with post-traumatic stress, or complex post-traumatic stress, was I didn't think that my problems were problems. I used to think that I needed to just buck up and, you know, pick, as they would say, put on the big girl panties and then move on. And that's not how it works. So, yeah. So really, even though they are almost 21, 20, and 17, they are still 12 in their head. That is the mental age that they have been assessed with. My stepdaughter here, who comes out, who just talked to me a minute ago, will literally ask me questions such as, is next month the last month of the year? And I'll just look at her and I'll say, and I try to do this in a way where I don't try to make her feel dumb, but at the same time, like, I want her to know how she would sound to others, and also remind her that that's not cute. That, you know, she would get more attention if she were to talk normally. And so we will go over different ways to have small talk, like, what's the weather like? What are you doing today? How are you feeling? So, I mean, she does do a little bit of that, where she'll say, how did you sleep last night? She does that every morning. But then she'll come over to me, stand in front of my big old clock over here with 4 other ones around her, and go, what time is it? And I'll just look at her and go, what time does it look like? She'll go, I can't read that. Yes, she can. She just doesn't, because that's her way of making small talk, because in her brain, she's not comprehending that doesn't sound very good. It's just to her like, I want attention, I want, you know, look at me. It's difficult. It really is. Like, I want to pat her on the back and say it's okay, but I know the rest of the world won't. So it doesn't help her if I coddle, as they would say, especially at her age. Did all the coddling I could. The school did all the coddling they could. And the result is she works 3 to 4 hours every 2 to 3 days, maybe 5 if we're super lucky, and makes $30 a week. in tips, maybe. Because she was in training, so, they cut the pay even lower than that. And, I mean, in my town, I know, like, in New York, if you want a studio apartment, it's like $1,000. But around here, rent for a 1-bedroom apartment is usually only about $300. I'm serious. The one I'm in right now, this is a home I'm renting, and my landlord is across the street. He's a great guy. Yeah, sorry. This is a problem with this hair. But he's a great guy, and I only pay about $600. Plus, my utilities, of course. But I wouldn't be able to afford to live in California or anywhere else, really. I'm sure there are other places that are even cheaper than this. But here, this is anywhere. If you're paying $1,000 to rent an apartment, you're either in a super nice neighborhood or it's a big old house. I mean, bigger than mine, and sometimes a lot nicer too. Mine is an old school farmhouse. We have electric heaters and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's bounce off of this. All right, let's go back to what we're doing. Okay, so yesterday, Sophia actually was the primary person we were looking at before. And what I'd really like to do today is go and, oh goodness, I need to fix the way I sit. Remember, I don't have a desktop setup. I just have this laptop of mine. And what was that? What the? Oh my god, I can't believe I ran into that. And now, what did I do? Oh, that's what I get for sitting up, huh? Is that better? Seems like it. Maybe. Why is it glitchy? Huh. Okay. Okay. So. We go back. All right. So what I was explaining before was before I got cut off because my daughter came home. These contributions, as they say, they are, well, what a lot of people strive to be. So, like, here, I'll give you another member. So, let's see. Let's go with her, because, yeah. She and I have butted heads quite a few times, because there you go. She's got 14,000 memorials. Will she give me any of them? No. I have to almost put up, like, an argument with her, because, she's had family members of mine, and I've said, hey, those are my family. Can I have the memorial? And she'll say, you can do this and I'll just change it. I'm like, what? You're supposed to give it up out of respect for the other person. She's added her 3,000 photos, but the memorials that she created originally were in a cemetery local to us. Now, I took pictures. I actually went there. I took pictures of every single one of them. So, although she manages a lot of them. Oakwood, Hillcrest. There it is. All right. So, although she manages a lot of these memorials, there's 17 open requests. I can never get them all done. This orange ring here, this is what I strive to do. That's why I go out and I take the photos and the GPS locations. Now, in order to get the GPS locations, what I have discovered is when you're taking photographs, if you ever decide to do this on your own, you have to turn into your settings in your phone, in your apps, and click on the camera and do the permissions. Now, in the permissions, you need to say that you would allow it to GPS locate you. And when you do that, it automatically, with the photo, will GPS locate it for you. So that way, when you transcribe it, you don't have to put in the coordinates. It's automatically put in for you. I'll demonstrate that at a later time whenever I upload some photos, because I do have some photos to upload. I still haven't put them on my computer. I keep saying I'm going to do that. And then I do all of my other chores, and then I don't do that. So, okay. So, Hillcrest. This is a there's 16,000. It's one of the larger ones in our area. Now, it's not as large as any of the ones in Pittsburgh. I mean, oh my goodness, 100,000. So, some of these photos I took, such as this one, which is in the back entranceway of the park. These ones I took during the wintertime. In the center, they occasionally put these memorials up. Like, these memorials actually will travel. And as you can see, there are names on them. And these names are of people who are veterans, because this particular cemetery is primarily to veterans. Now, not all of these people are actually buried in the cemetery. There's actually, each one of these on both sides have, all these names on them. So just to give you an idea of how many names are here. And, that's a reflection of one, obviously. But because these things they almost look like glass. And then you have the dates, 7/10 and 6/10 and where'd it go? 8/10, 10/10, and there's me in the reflection. See, see. Sometimes, I can't even get away from it. I try really hard to stay out of the reflections, but sometimes the sun is just angled that way. This was actually, believe it or not, nighttime. This is not morning. A lot of people think this is a sunrise. This is a sunset. And it was probably only about 4 o'clock. And I wouldn't even say 4, maybe 2 or 3, because it is winter time. But my kids are in Taekwondo, and as you can see, I was wearing my jacket. So, okay. So, Hillcrest is something we also call 144 flags, and there are literally that many flags all around the place. The reason for that is the story of this right here. This is it. Okay. So, to commemorate the enduring vigil created by the raising of the American flag on each day, the 52 American citizens were held hostage in the country of Iran. These flags serve as a reminder to us of the strength of American patriotism and dedication to our nation's goals and principles. The tablet will serve as a permanent memorial to unyielding hope, love, and concern for mankind worldwide. So they were captured on November 4th, 1979, and released January 2018 81, which is why we call it 144 flags. So and actually what really people call it is 444. Because if I do the math right, I don't know why people call it 144. Because honestly, the math doesn't math. Okay. And all right, here's the other thing. Ow. Boo. This picture I didn't take. This, behind this thing right here, you see this flame? It's eternal flame. There's a propane tank actually back there. So it will say, if you get back in that bush, don't light anything on fire. Because there's a propane tank that constantly keeps this list. I don't know if you could see the shadow of it back here, but that's where it is. Just saying. So. La, 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 la. Trying to figure out who to start with here. If I had to pick a person, all right, let's do this. You know what? All right, these are the ones I control. So I have to mute you guys for a minute so I can do this. This is my problem. This is my problem during the day. This is exactly why I have the job that I have through my Etsy account and my eBay and my Amazon, and my store in general, because I get these phone calls where now I have to go out and do something else. And that really sucks, because it's like I originally had the time. I said to myself, I'm going to do this from 9 to noon. And now I gotta go. I'm hoping this doesn't take too long and that I will be back before noon. But man, it wasn't even my stepson, you know. Be one thing if it was my stepson. And I could tell him, you know what, wait until noon. Because honestly, I wouldn't expect him to be up right now. But nope. And I am sorry. I am really hoping to come back and finish this up. And then, you know, go over I don't know if, honestly, if the chat can leave me messages here or in the chat room that I could see later. I don't know. Even if it's just a message after you see this and there's somebody you want me to look up, I'll do it. You know, just who do you want to look up? Is there a family member that you're curious about? You know, I guess that's kind of like, this is why I'm going to do it this way, you know, half and half. 1, 2, and the sun's coming out. This is just perfect. This would be a nice time to be able to just sit here and talk, because I would feel a lot better that the sun is out. But no. I think the neighbor's dogs are out on the road. They don't get hit. I promise. But every time I hear that horn from somebody's car, usually means there's a dog next to the road. This is a busy road. I'm not on the freeway or anything, but it's a well-traveled road. Man. Who's that? Okay. This is frustrating. I'm sorry. So what I was hoping to do, future-wise, is not only go over how to do things with Ancestry and, you know, find a grave, but help other people look for who they're looking for, or, you know, help with their family trees, you know, because I have this information. Because a lot of people ask me, how do you do that? How did you get that? How did you get there? You know, instead of constantly reiterating everything, this is just easier. Where I can go over it and I can help you look up somebody if you're having trouble with it. Instead of, you know, paying somebody a lot of money to do it, because I know some people will do it for like a fee. And I mean, honestly, it is a lot of research, so rightly so. I just want to do it because I need something to do. And this is my way of giving back to the community. But I have to sign off now, and I'm sorry. I'm going to try and be back here before noon. Please. Please. So frustrating. This is the life of a mom, unfortunately. I don't have the luxuries as a, you know, single person. I try. And not saying that, you know, moms can't do things, but we're under other obligations where it's not about us. So, and dads too. I mean, let's not discount single dads or, you know, even just normal dads out there, stay-at-home dads or working dads. I mean, there's always an obligation. So we do it with Kian with what we have. And again, I will try to be on here before noon. All right.